All right. So some of our doors are open. Now what? So we've got Nick of KCAC with the subtle branding behind him. They were able to open up their doors come Monday. And I know from speaking with him daily that it's just been a vacation.
Just a complete vacation. We got the lawn chairs out, the umbrellas, there's some sand. We're good.
Yeah. So what's it like in Paradise?
Um, it's busy. The most of our classes are capped for the most part. People are on wait lists because we're limited to 9 participants. So the gym is busy. You have to space out classes differently, so you can't maybe sandwich people in as often. So it changes both the volume has changed, but then also the velocity of being able to turn people over has changed.
So real quick, can you just run us through what your schedule is?
Yeah, so we basically are running a 5 a.m. class, a 7 a.m. class, a 9 a.m. class. So it's every other hour, that first part of the morning. And then there's a noon, a 3:30, a 5, and a 6:30. So normally it's 5:15, 6:15, 8:30, and that's just for our CrossFit programming. We actually have an entirely separate program called Epic that has a different schedule, and it's limited in capacity as well.
So, we've opened doors, and I know from just our relationship and day-to-days that you are a planner. You plan everything to a T. Was there things about opening that you didn't anticipate? Or kind of the biggest hurdles?
Yeah. So I feel like every day we're just getting like curveballs thrown. And then all of a sudden you get a fastball, then a change up, and you're facing the best pitcher ever, trying not to strike out here. So like the one
perfect for planners.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Right. Like the one that hit yesterday was, they said the state of Kansas came out and said that we can have 15 people starting on Friday. And I thought, man, that's perfect. This is awesome. And then I realized we don't have 15 assault bikes, and I think we don't have 15 rowers, and we don't have 15 individual barbell setups. So yes, you can have 15 people, 14 with one coach, right? But even if you've got the space, do you have enough equipment to not share things? Because sharing is icky right now, right? So that was the latest curveball, was just because you're told, cool, you can do this, doesn't mean you actually can do it.
Yeah. Now you actually get a chance to solve the problems that were just in your mind.
Right.
Now it becomes real, or even more real in a practical stance. So that's got to be pretty tough or pretty challenging, right? So then in that case, then are you just, being a lot more creative with programming? I would assume a lot of communication, like over communicate, make sure everyone knows kind of exactly what the plan is. While you're in here, there is a defined plan. There's a set plan. You get in, you get out, and you're done.
Yep. Yeah. So communication's been a big part, and communicating through every channel possible: text, email, Instagram, Facebook groups, you name it. And like you mentioned, I heard Eric agree, creative with programming is a big part. But then also, again, just we made the decision, at least for a few days, to cap classes at 12. So it shows progress and expansion, and we know that we can do 12 until we can kind of, again, rough things out. My hope is that some of the equipment companies will open up, maybe have some inventory or some stock, like there's some little things that can come to the rescue. But basically at some point, it's either customer sentiment has to improve to a spot where they feel safe sharing equipment, along with the state allowing you to share space, along with equipment suppliers actually having gear in stock. Some combination of that has to come to fruition in order for a lot of gyms that are built upon having 20 people in a session, or basically any gym that's built upon people sharing equipment, now suddenly everyone has their own specific station. Unless one of those three things comes to fruition, your model changes.
Yep, indeed. Matter of fact, that was a discussion since you're bringing out programming. A lot of gyms who are outsourcing programming to like a third party vendor or some group or an online platform have canceled those, because now the classic group model needs to be even more so detailed down to equipment and floor space and personnel. I mean, your classic version of, hey, give a template out to 100 gyms isn't working.
Nope.
Folks they gotta so talk about adding on layers of work. Not only are you coaching on the floor and doing your digital service and doing maybe your one-on-one or your individual design service, now you're back to the drawing board of how are we going to get back to some semblance of programming that makes sense for our gear and it makes sense for our space.
Yeah, I mean, let's touch on that a little bit. So just the added work. I mean, you do bring up you have to be a lot more creative with programming. I'm assuming you still have virtual programming. Then obviously you have in-class, in-person programming or in-session programming. We're not technically allowed to have classes. In addition to all the cleaning duties, over cleaning, there's just, I think your list of work has just at least doubled, if not more.
Yep.
How are you guys handling that?
Well, we're getting uncomfortable, and I'm of the belief that what you view as hard work today, if you live right, is not that definition does not remain the same, and that it takes some sort of discomfort in order to change that definition. So my definition of hard work 6 months ago is nothing compared to today. And hopefully 6 months from now, it'll be way different. Right.
That's fair. You've grown, you've gotten better.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. So as opposed to just, and it's been more than just rolling up the sleeves and working hard. It's been a lot of efficiencies, tons of efficiencies built in, everything from delegating and leveraging our team to even like the video edits and things, just getting better at doing those things. To a point where you don't spend, an hour editing a video at night. You have a template, you drop the video in, it takes you 15 minutes. You call that 45 minutes back out of your time just through efficiency. And there's tons of those little examples. But yeah, going a lot of different directions. Thankfully, we have a really solid team here at the gym and people that are willing to do the same thing, roll their sleeves up and say, this needs to get done. I'm going to do it. And that's cool.
Well, I know right now we are definitely in the middle of the suck.
Yeah.
But do you see any light at the end of the tunnel, or what does that look like? Can you predict that to some degree?
I've been mapping this out. Like you said, I'm a planner. So I've been mapping this out in my head of what this looks like, some sort of return to normalcy. And I haven't quite arrived at what it looks like yet. I mean, even if the state of Kansas says phase 3 can start June 1, which is more like middle of June is what they're aiming for. But even if they said June 1, and for definition's sake, I'm pretty sure phase 3 is like concerts and festivals and sporting events can all go back to normal and you can have big groups, right? Even if they said that came back tomorrow, doesn't mean that the 30% of our members who are still staying at home are going to just magically wake up and go, you know what? Governor said we can do this. Let's do it. It doesn't happen that way. If you think about this in the terms of trauma, we were all basically forced inside for 60 days or longer. And that creates a certain level of trauma that's you're not going to overcome it in a snap of a finger or a governor's press conference. Right? So kind of, I think it was Zach that said, meet them where they're at. I mean, like, that's basically what it comes down to. It's going to be the long-term play is just going to continue to be individual design stuff. It's going to be seeing where they are at. And I'm hoping we can wind down the Zoom classes soon, maybe get some of those people into a few classes, maybe a hybrid of a few classes in individual design, because any time that you can remove a chunk of man hours from the staff schedule, then you can dedicate those hours to other places, obviously. So
yeah, especially now, that's a limited resource, a very limited resource.
Exactly. So, you figure we went from, 15 classes a day, TJ? Or 15 Zoom classes a week.
Yeah.
So now we're at 10. I'd love to inch that down some more to 0, obviously, but even if it's just 5, it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric, you got any predictions for what this might look like towards the end of this and kind of back into some semblance of normalcy?
No, it's, in having the conversation with one of our guests yesterday from Houston on In the Trenches, he's in the exact same boat as Nick, where they're open, but what does open mean? And let's just say identically, like what he said, open means, yeah, we can now start to drum up business, but yet we've got to be creative for the business that's not walking back in. So for example, yes, people are coming in and, they're excited to get back and see their friends and participate and, enjoy the coaching and the relationship building. But what is that 20, 30, 35% of the clientele that aren't interested yet? Right. I mean, that's actually a pretty good analogy about trauma, because there is a psychological aspect to being forced away. And then, there clearly are individuals that are going to say, I'm not ready. But then what do you have for them? So does that take the next 6 months before, because you can say, I have to care for those that aren't interested in coming back right away because they are still my members. On the flip side, the gentleman I was speaking to yesterday already signed up another 11 new members from a gym that closed. So he's seeing an offset in dollars in revenue, even though they're people that are current members that aren't coming back. He's now servicing new members that want to come back right away, which is great because now he's got the ability to create new expectations and new relationships, in addition to solving the retention issues on the, those that don't want to come back. So how long, like even, snap your fingers, tomorrow, California's open. You're right. 30% are still not going to feel safe. But what do they feel safe doing? And that's where you've got to meet them. You've got to talk to them. You've got to face-to-face them or phone call them and say, here's what we're capable of doing. What can we do for you? How can we help you?
Right.
And maybe that's 6 months. What's the repair, psychological repair for traumas? Like 5 times the length of the trauma. So if you're out 60 days, 2 months, then I'll see you back in 10 months.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's spot on it. Right.
Maybe. Yeah.
And I think a big part of it is, at least for me, when we, sorry, at the risk of this dragging out here, James, I apologize, but like, the first time that we hung out with people, I told TJ, I said, man, I felt a little weird, like,
it's
dirty.
It's weird. There's this weird, just cloud of what am I supposed to do? Because socially, this has been something that's not been acceptable for the last few months and drilled down hard,
right?
Worldwide. And so just to have a conversation with a friend in person, it's like, what do you do?
So but it was a first step, and then I did it again, and it was another step,
a little less, and
it didn't feel as dirty, and so I think for a lot of people, it's going to be unwinding what are those steps like for each individual, but also as a gym owner, just because this place is now busy and we're on a wait list for most every class, things like that, also doesn't mean that you can suddenly get complacent with the people who don't feel comfortable coming in. Doesn't mean that you can get complacent with what's going on inside of your four walls, because the minute you get complacent with what's going on inside your 4 walls and take it for granted that everyone's just going to keep coming back in because they love it, the people on the outside of the 4 walls will not come in because you haven't gone above and beyond to show them how safe it is.
Yep.
Because they haven't made those steps yet, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think
remember that?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, remember the old phrase, show, don't tell. You've got to be able to communicate what's going on above and beyond what's expected. So like if it's, the old adage of just, posting every other day, or, glimpsing into your gym once a week, or, whiteboard Wednesdays. No, now it's got to be, twice a day, 3 times a day, every day, until it's consistently delivered that you are caring for anyone and everyone that walks in.
Yeah. The last point I was going to make is it's easy to get lost in all the very detailed problems of, like operations and like what kind of, where do you source your wipes and what kind of tape you're using on the floor. But what I'm seeing and kind of reminding myself is one of the constants is it's never going to go to plan. I'll show you why.
I love it.
There's the plan.
I love it.
But it's doubling down on building and maintaining relationships.
Oh, for sure.
And providing results, solutions.
Yep. Solutions.
That can change, and there's 1,000 different ways that you can accomplish both of those. But at the end of the day, those are the things that we need to be as business owners and as leaders of a community. Those are the things that we need to be very good at.
Yep. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Well, that's our parting message. Do that. Do those 2 things. Let us know how you guys are doing executing those 2 things and improving and maintaining relationships with your community and providing solutions, finding solutions. Awesome, guys. That was a really awesome conversation. And I think I'm being called to duty.
Daddy duty. It calls.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. A pleasure as always. I will catch you guys.
You got it. Right on. I'll see you, man. Thank you.